General advice. I wanted some general advice for our readers. So I went over to the local military base and found a general to give me some advice. No, not that kind of general. I mean general advice in the sense of guidance that we can tell our readers, tips, study advice, just general advice that they can take with them as they move forward. Because this book has now come to an end. We've gotten them off to a good start, I think. But now it's time for them to spread their wings and fly.
It's exciting.
And they're going to go off and study Greek in other ways. So what things can we tell them as they take the knowledge that we've given them in this book, this good basic knowledge about how to use cases, how to conjugate a verb in the present tense? They've got this basic knowledge. We've gone to great lengths to train them with all this good basic information. What can we tell them now as they leave us and go on to other adventures in ancient Greek? You're an experienced Greek teacher. You've taught classes and individuals, and actually I have not. So you probably have some really good insights here. Let me mention my advice really quick, and then I'd love to hear from you. My advice is to look very carefully at the sentence. Don't go on autopilot, don't snooze, but look carefully at each word. And then I say, don't try to read texts that are way too hard for you. That's a huge pitfall that I felt that I have fallen into in the past, of trying to jump in and read really hard stuff. And then you just get beat down and discouraged, and it really doesn't end well.
I think we've all done that at some point.
So what I try to tell people is read things that are on your level, or maybe just slightly above your level, so you have a little bit of a challenge, but that you're not just beating your head against a wall doing something that is just impossible. So you want to gradually work your way up. And of course, one of the best ways to do that is to speak ancient Greek for practice, using what we call active methods or immersion methods. That's one of the best ways to level up, so to speak. So those are my basic thoughts here about general advice. What would you like to tell our listeners?
One thing I would say is going forward, continuing to involve as many senses as possible in the learning experience. So that same thing that we've talked about multiple times, where speaking Greek, learning the vocabulary by saying it out loud so that you involve your hearing and your sight, and kind of a tactile thing with the mouth, writing it out while saying it aloud so that you involve your sense of movement. One of the little hacks that I've learned is that if you get a big whiteboard and you're able to write the Greek vocabulary in big letters with the big arm strokes, that actually does something in order to help the vocabulary or whatever you're trying to learn sink in more. So involving those multi-sensory methods as much as possible is one of my biggest advice pieces going forward. And then the other thing is, a lot of our listeners are homeschooled, self-taught, so a lot of it is very independent. Getting involved in a sort of community with other Greek learners is a big piece. That is it absolutely necessary? Will you be able to learn Greek without it? You can, but it's a lot easier and a lot more fun to learn Greek with other Greek learners, with other Greek speakers. Being online and talking with other Greek speakers for ancient Greek, either through writing or through a video conference or something like that, having that interaction and that community element really helps solidify the learning. And you pick up things. There are things that someone else will know that I don't know. And similarly, I can teach something to someone else. So that whole piece is really something that I encourage our listeners to go ahead and try. The last thing is that Greek is a long distance journey. It is not something that you study for, a little bit and then you've mastered it and then you're done. Greek is one of those things that just you get to know it and you get to know it better. And as you get to know it better, it's more comfortable, but you never really reach I have mastered everything about ancient Greek and now I'm done. And that's part of the joy of it. You're always discovering kind of, oh, there's a specialized word I didn't know about, or, oh, this is a cool expression that I didn't know, but because I'm reading Plato or the New Testament or something, I see this expression. So there's always something new to learn with Greek, and really embracing that and saying like, oh, this is part of the joy of Greek is I'm always learning about it, rather than going, oh, I didn't know that thing. How could I not have known that thing? So the attitude of just, this is something that I'm learning, and it's kind of a lifelong journey of getting to know the language, sort of like getting to know a friend, is really important just attitudinally going forward as well. So those are my biggest pieces of advice.
You know, that's all great advice. And you remind me of so many things that I've encountered over the years, like the thought that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not just a 50-yard dash and then you're done. As you said a moment ago, it's a marathon. It's a long distance race. You know, people ask me all the time, they say, Bill, why do you study all this stuff? Why are you pursuing that degree? Or if you get a PhD, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to teach? And I tell them the same thing every time, that it's not the destination for me, it's the journey. I just love the journey. I love doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to enjoy the journey. I've heard people describe learning Latin and Greek, and you probably have too. They'll describe it as a painful thing you just have to go through, you know, suffer through. One guy left a review of one of my books one time. He said, just take the pain. Don't use Bill Linney's method. Get a real textbook and just take the pain and suffer through it, and then you'll know Latin. And, you know, I disagree with that so strongly. I can't even express how much I hate that kind of attitude.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be miserable as you go along the journey and then say, well, I'll enjoy it later after I get through it.
Yeah, that kind of comment, like the reviewer left, it hurts my language teacher heart, because I know if my students are miserable, they're not going to learn as much.
And okay, I get it. There is going to be hard work when you learn a language. There are going to be times when you have to really bear down and work hard and do the hard work. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But to characterize it as painful, I think you're looking at it completely the wrong way. I think that you have to enjoy the journey, not just enjoy the destination.
Absolutely.
If you are a marathon runner, you can't only just enjoy when you cross the finish line. You have to enjoy,
Right.
You have to enjoy the run that gets you there.
Yeah.
Or else why are you doing it, you know?
Yeah.
You know, my first career was as a musician. I was a performing musician. And somebody gave me some advice. This was long into my career. You know, when you're a performing musician, you have to practice many, many, many hours.
Right.
It's just endless work. It's endless practice and endless work to be a performing musician. And somebody said, if you're going to be a performing musician, a professional musician, at some point you have to get to the point where you enjoy practice.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see practice as something that you just suffer through to get good on your instrument, so later you can enjoy the experience of being a good musician. You have to enjoy the hours and hours of practice on some level. On some level, you have to enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
So my point here is you have to enjoy the journey, not just the destination. Another quick musical analogy, an old conductor that I played under for years, he had all kinds of really kind of philosophical sayings and things. And one of his sayings was, music is not a product, it's a process.
Yeah.
And I think that in life, we so often look for a product. Like in college, we want the diploma, we want accreditation.
Mm-hmm.
Or we want to get some kind of award, or we want to reach some kind of milestone that shows us, you know, some kind of tangible evidence of an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
But and this fits perfectly with what you said a few minutes ago, that learning ancient Greek is just a process, a journey. It's not a product where you just reach a point and say, I'm done. So I think basically I'm just restating what you already said. I'm just putting it into different words, that learning ancient Greek is a process, not a product. And so get used to it being a long, enjoyable journey of intellectual discovery.
Yeah.
And enjoy the journey. I think that's what we're both saying here is enjoy the journey. Don't look at it as some kind of painful thing you suffer through. Look at it as a fun journey of discovery and learning and developing the mind.
Right. Yes, definitely.
And so with that thought, we bring this book to an end, and we wish you the best as you continue on your Greek journey. And we hope that this book has given you a great way to start that journey, and now you'll continue that journey on your own. But you know the old saying, Catherine, a job well begun is half done.
Exactly. So with this great start, we hope that our listeners will just continue their journey in a spirit of discovery and enjoyment, and that their efforts of learning Greek will be very well rewarded.